honor a loyal, hardworking, and brilliant staff of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, who I am proud to say works closely with me, Mr. Kelechi Okoronkwo, on this occasion of his 40th birthday colloquium and public presentation of his new book titled The Spokesman. Hosting a colloquium on this special day to discuss social and national issues is timely, patriotic, and inspiring. I am not surprised, as this indeed is the character of Mr. Okoronkwo. The conversations we will have here today in our country's progress, its unity, and the solutions that will be preferred to the challenges the country faces is a testament to the fact that there is hope for Nigeria. The theme of this event, tagged the media and social responsibility in Nigeria, is quite striking for me because it is timely and resonates with every Nigerian and the cause for a better Nigeria.
The media can make and mar. And the reason that this conference, or will I say book presentation, has become very critical is because the media is not playing its role as it should be. There's a vacuum. On social media today, the conversation on ritual killings, Yahoo, and a lot of other social vices are being fueled by the media. Of course, the media is democratized in the sense that anybody today can claim to be a media owner, can claim to be a media person, can claim to have the influence. You have followers on Instagram. You define the news by what have you. You have a Twitter account. You have thousands of followers. You post fake news, and you have changed truth. You have a Facebook account. You have become a danger to the society because you are not upholding the values or certain values. So the media today has this power, and it's unfortunate that it is not being used to guide society to do the right things and make the right choices.
The problem we have in this country is an attempt to always box the media as being responsible for some of the social, political, and economic dislocations in this country. And it is not tenable. It is not because there is a study that has been published which shows the religious and political crisis in Nigeria did not happen because the media elected to neglect its responsibility. Between 1980 and 1992, there were 26 religious riots in Nigeria. As at that time, the internet was not at where it is today. We didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Instagram, and other social media platforms that are today being blamed as being responsible for the decline in morality, for the decline in responsibility by youth, parents. It is entirely the failure of government and not because the media failed. And that report shows that within that decade, 6,775 persons were killed in those crises from 1980 to 1992. What does that tell you? If you take a statistics of what Boko Haram has done in an age where we have a vibrant social media activity, it does not compare to the 26 religious riots we had from 1980 to 1992. That is something we should all reflect on.
How does the media focus on the social responsibility role when it's operating in an excruciating environment such as we have now? And it is forced to look up to the same people it ought to hold accountable for its own survival. We all depend on advertisers, and the only people who seem to have the advance to put in newspapers, to sustain newspapers, are the government. And you ought to hold them accountable. And if you do, they deny you adverts. The corporate world, if you hold them accountable, they deny you adverts. And this, how do you now survive to actually play this role expected of you by the Nigerian society or by the social responsibility theory? So, for the sake of survival, the Nigerian media has outsourced its responsibilities to non-media personalities, groups and institutions. And the adverts that used to sustain the media, they have all dried up. And with most of these newspapers, these television houses, radio, poorly funded and so poorly run, they now run to politicians, they run to indiscriminately doling out awards. Hardly every 2 weeks you will see one media house organizing one award or the other. It doesn't mean that the recipients of those awards have performed wonderfully well. It is because you need money to sustain these media houses. As I said, we are telling ourselves some home truths here.
The Spokesman, the flow of quality thoughts of Kelechi Okoronkwo, a collection of narratives of published thoughts and opinions, publisher by Interactive Digital. Our place of publication is Abuja, and the year of publication is situated as 2022. That is, it's a recent publication. All great accomplishments, tangible and intangible, grow from moments of quality thoughts. The truly enthralling places, ideas and themes across the globe, that is, the Gardens by the Bay in Singapore, the linked hybrid towers in Beijing, China, the Taj Mahal in Agra, India, world-best military hardware and artificial intelligence, world-best democratic processes and procedures all belong to products of quality thoughts. Quality ideas and thoughts rule the world and make here a better place. The thoughts which Kelechi Okoronkwo lays out perfectly in his book, The Spokesman, a collection and narratives of published thoughts and opinions, fits into the class of quality thoughts, creative and transformative. The author, who is well known in Nigeria's journalism and corporate communication fields, has written a number of opinions, articles, literary works in forms of poems, short stories, and plays. His works have been widely published on both local and international news and literary platforms. The author is also present on various social media platforms, and he uses the social media to propagate his thoughts. His works touch various aspects of life, such as policies, religion, culture, tradition, economy, science and technology, agriculture, relationship, media and communication, amongst others. The 256-page book, like the title suggests, is a collection of the author's published opinions, poems, short stories, social media posts, and discussions. This is an attempt to bring together all snippets of his public conversations with hope that they could further impact his audience. The author also hopes to use the book medium to preserve his newspaper, magazine, and online publications for future references. I guess he touched on this. There is a limit to which web or cloud contents can be preserved or accessed. Web and cloud contents, even unbounded and loosely bounded publications, such as newspapers and magazines, can disappear at any time, or anyone can lose access to them. We recall that not too long ago, the web actually crashed, and we're all at a loss as to what has happened. The momentary collapse of some social media platforms a couple of times in the recent past is an indicator that a doomsday may be lurking. Books are more durable and can be easily accessible. This reality gives the author the push to gather and preserve his publications in a book form. Secondly, the author looks at every snippet of our everyday conversation as fragmented representation of our personalities. We do not keep our values one side while the content of our conversations is at the opposite. The public judges us by the content of our public representations and utterances. I also hope that by today or in the future, someone could lay hands on this book and be able to understand and possibly appreciate his thoughts on various national and international issues, and even personal issues such as his family and education. Mr. Kelechi Okoronkwo has written on various topics, including economy and finances, security, education, governance, religion and culture, amongst others. He makes his stance known using opinions, poems, and other literary works. Like every deep and profound writer, Mr. Okoronkwo's book attests to the fact that he's a great thinker, a philosopher, and you could say a prophet. One of the headlines in the book that speaks to that attribute is a story on COVID-19 on page 29. The world may choose to live with this virus to save life and economy. In the story, which was published on April 24, 2020, as at that time, when experts still did not know much about the pandemic and how to go about containing it, the author makes a foreboding statement that the world should find a way to live with whatever they could not defeat. Mr. Kelechi notes that humanity has a way of living with whatever it cannot subdue, and that living with COVID-19 entails fashioning effective ways to manage it as it is, to manage it such as homegrown measures to cure or at least manage the disease. He notes, for more than 5 months now, the world has been battling this invisible enemy. Coronavirus is the leveler. Both the superpowers and the inferior powers have been conquered and pressed to remain in their homes. All religion, traditions, and spirituality on earth have been disarmed by the physical strength of an invisible force. Science and technology have failed the economies who trusted so much in them, unquote. He continues, the world is feeling the impact of lockdown. The developed economies in Europe and America are complaining. The developing economies in Africa and Asia are the hardest hit. Governments are deploying stringent measures to keep citizens inside their homes, but that is not completely successful. There have been demonstrations in Israel, US, China, Germany, and in most African countries, asking the authorities to relax lockdown over prevailing economic challenges. In Africa, governments pledge palliatives to poor citizens to enable them staying indoors. But due to lack of data and transparency, the palliative measures are not getting into the hands of the vulnerable. For how long then could people wait at home while livelihoods are endangered? The world is taking a desperate decision to live with whatever humanity could not subdue. Unquote. The book contains a wide-ranging, inspiring topic which reflects the personality of the author. For instance, you have revisiting empathy and the Kevin Carter tragedy. Nigeria has come, piteous reality of the second scramble for partition of Africa. You have how much does freedom cost? Where are our CSOs? Another topic is Jacob Zuma is not retiring a hero. The author's reflections on such topics he writes on portrays him as a writer who bears the burden of society. The Spokesman by Kelechi Okoronkwo is a great book that needs to impact the world positively. It is my utmost belief that this book will secure all hopes and save humanity both now and in the future.
Like the title of this book suggests, it is a collection of published opinions, poems, short stories, social media posts, and my discussions on the media platforms. This book is an attempt to bring together all snippets of my public conversation with the hope that they could further impact my audience. I also hope to use this book medium to preserve the newspaper, magazine, and online publications which I have written for future references. There is a limit to which web or cloud content can be preserved or accessed. They can disappear at any time, or one can lose access to them. What I want to say in summary is that I am happy that this is coming at this time, and my hope is that our discussion today and the reading of the book will further impact this generation and even generation to come.